I feel so privileged to be able to gather today together in moments like this with the help of technology. As Pat said before, it's amazing what technology can do. It doesn't only build bombs, but it can also bring us together. And that's very, very a privilege to be able to do that. At this time, especially when so much of our world is plunged in darkness, fear, and chaos. Speakers before me have referred to today's dangers. Climate change, the threat, especially for our future generations, left couples a couple of days ago. Athens, for the second time this year, it was snowing. That doesn't usually happen in Greece. So I don't know where that's going to take us. And here in Vienna, it's sunny and warm. Complete change in reality of climate. COVID. Unpredictable appearance of this pandemic threat. And it's been a long period now of fear for ourselves, for our loved ones, with unknown repercussions after these years of distancing from one another. All studies regarding what will happen with COVID-19, how it affects us, conclude that we should focus our conversations, our studies, on utilizing the COVID crisis to reflect on our responsibility for the world as it is today and that which is to come in the future. So last year, when I was asked to speak at this conference on our role as psychotherapists in our endangered world, I immediately appreciated that EAP participates in this crucial dialogue. Of course, we do not have all the answers, but the fact that we have come together to discuss how psychotherapy can cultivate hope in our world is already an act aimed at fostering resilience and sustainability of anthropos, the whole human being. And then war broke out. War in our European neighborhood, which, just as I say that, brings a choking feeling inside. War again after 20 years. Last time it was in your beloved country, dear Nevena. And I know from our work in previous Yugoslavia how there are still repercussions on the mental health of the citizens today. So my heart is with our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, but also with our Russian colleagues, who I believe will be trying to make meaning out of this tragedy. And while Ukraine is ongoing, the impact of other wars, such as those against migrants, refugees, ethnic minorities, and other groups, has led to substantial suffering from long-term, even transgenerational trauma. Suffering which creates challenges to our role as psychotherapists. So now even more, heavy demands are placed on our shoulders. And when problems aren't fixable, as they often seem in these days, we, psychotherapists, are faced with the predicament of trying to solve the unsolvable. This weight lies at the very source of our stress, our distress as healers. Yet our job is not to fix the unfixable, but to empathically hold and accompany our clients as they live through and potentially grow through the unfixable aspects of their lives. As my beloved Leonard Cohen's song says, and that has to do with the title of my presentation, there is a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. So our job is to empathically help our clients recognize and utilize their cracks as a means to bring in light and hope for their lives. And this certainly entails us, the therapists, becoming aware of and having compassion for our personal cracks. For psychotherapy is a co-evolutionary process of growth for both the client and the therapist. As Irving Yalom said in his very moving interview yesterday with Evgenio, it's a Greek name, you know? So you permit me to call you with a Greek name, as Evgenio had yesterday, this moving interview with Irving Yalom, how he talked about the therapist growing even at the age of 90 and on through his work. This is the co-evolutionary process of therapy. As also Emma Chodron, I don't know if you know her work, she's a Buddhist monk in the United States. She says that compassion and empathy is not hard work. It takes courage to know our darkness well enough so that we can sit in the dark with others. So what I would like to do now is, as you know, Nevena, and I think that's why you invited me, I don't want to speak so much, but to get you more involved, although we're a very, very big group here. I do want to get us into this co-evolutionary process. And I'm going to ask you, the participants online and the participants that are here from EAP in the room, to do a small reflective exercise. And I'm going to ask you to do this in an individual way. And I'm going to tell you the instructions as you're sitting here in the room or as you are sitting at your desks or in your home. And then I'm going to ask you to go into small groups of 3 where you will share this individual exercise, this experience, and then come back and feed your impressions and your experience into the large group. So I would like to invite you to sit comfortably in your chairs. If you are here, leave your papers and pens on the floor or next to you. And sit comfortably. Take a couple of deep breaths. It always helps. Yes? We talk so much, but we never realize that we're not taking in too much air. So let's take a couple of deep breaths and try to feel your presence with your feet on the ground and your presence here. And I would like to invite you to try to focus on yourself. And if you feel comfortable enough, especially if you're in the comfort of your own home, just to breathe and close your eyes so that you can close the outside stimulus out. And slowly try to scan your body. And what do I mean by this? But to start at the top of your head and to slowly move down through your face, through your shoulders, just trying to see what it's like in your body, how it's feeling in your shoulders, in your arms, in your hands, and in your chest, down into your stomach, down into your belly, slowly down into your legs, your knees, and all the way down to your feet, What is that like? What is your body feeling? And then I'd like you to permit yourself to remember and experience a moment where you felt hope from psychotherapy. It could be from your work, from a specific moment in time, or it could be from your personal therapy. A moment that has stood out for you. Bring that experience to your mind, to your heart. Remember it. Savor it. It's almost like you're living it again with specific people and a specific context, time and space. And I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to stay in that experience so that you are able then to feel it and describe it and share it. This such important moment of hope that you personally have experienced. And as soon as you have that experience again with you, you can slowly open your eyes and come back to the here and now. So, what are we going to do with this now? I'm going to ask you, and Ronald is going to help us. As I say, he does magic. So he's going to help us in creating small groups of 3 this time. 3 or 4, it all depends on but basically 3, where you will share this experience of hope. I know that many of us may not speak the same language very well, but this is really important. This is our challenge, to be able to share and communicate with each other in some way, non-verbal way, verbal way. And we're going to share this experience of hope. And after each of us in the small groups of 3 have shared, you're going to try and see what was there that made this experience hopeful. What was there in this psychotherapeutic moment that fostered hope? And then, as a small group, I will send you a message where we'd like you to co-create a phrase that shows, that just illustrates what was there, what you came up with. And you're going to choose one representative, and someone will just feed that back into the large group. I will take some from the online participants, some from a couple from this group that is here, and then the others will be just put into the chat, and we'll utilize them. And then we'll come back and see what that has brought us. So, magic time, Ronald. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. I know this was so short, and I apologize, but time goes on. And I hope it just gave you a little taste of what we can do by sharing our hopes from psychotherapy. And what I'd like you to do is to just put your phrases in the chat. Nevna's going to be looking at them. And also, I will take just 3 or 4 from the online participants. I'm trying to look at you while I'm seeing myself here on the screen. Could one of you just raise your hand that could share your phrase, one of the groups? And if Ronald sees a hand coming up, he will help us by saying the name, and you will turn on your microphone and share it with us.
Yeah, so maybe you can use the reactions button in the Zoom, then we can see that better because we can't see all the participants.
Okay, so what do I do?
Yeah, we have some. Great, so Katrin, I will...
Can Katrin please share your phrase from your small group?
Yes, I can.
Great.
The phrase we came up with was that hope is in moments when clients are fully in their lives and become and are met in that being fully in their lives and taking charge of their lives.
Great, thank you.
Then Paul?
Paul, yes?
Yes, we came to the next sentence. Even when the problems are not solved, we can be.
We can be, great. Okay, thank you, Paul, and your group.
So
Go ahead. Next group.
Nelly?
Yes?
Hello, everyone. We didn't have time with Daniela to make a common phrase. I hope she says her own. Mine was from fear to freedom and light.
Okay. All right.
Great. Another one?
And we'll have one from this group as well. Does someone from this group want to share whenever you feel you're ready, along with the online participants? Thank you. Let's go on. Yes.
Our group created this sentence: despite how deep the despair you feel.
Despite, sorry?
Despite how deep the despair you feel.
Okay.
There is always some hope very deep in your own personality. Just look for it.
Mm-hmm.
One more?
Great. And then? And one last one from this group.
If reach out in darkness, hope can touch you.
Okay. And I'd like one last one from the group online, if that's all right. Is there one other group that wants to share?
Maybe San, who has...
I will, okay.
Rosette?
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
It's humanity survives through hope.
Excuse me?
Humanity survives through hope.
All right. Okay, thank you. So if we try now to put this in what we call a flow of the group and try to understand what's coming back from our group online and here as well, we say that hope happens, hope emerges in a moment when the client is fully in their lives and they are met there. I imagine that we're talking about that we meet them there when they are fully in their lives, cognitively and emotionally. Even when problems are not solved, we can meet them there in their lives. From freedom, from fear, we move into freedom in this way by meeting our clients when they are fully in their lives. we can help them go from fear to freedom and light, despite the deep despair, then always hope arises because it's in your personality. It's there. You just need to look for it and reach out in darkness. Then hope can touch, and that's how humanity survives. And I love that, because what we're saying is that, of course, the client at that moment is deep in their lives, but we also meet them in that moment of despair, and we stay with them. And we may not always be able to solve it, but we can just be, and that's how hope arises. What I'd like to do now is to share with you at this point some of the moments, specific moments where I experienced. I don't just want you to take that risk and share, but I want to do that as well. And I'd like to share some of the hope in my psychotherapy work when I felt I grew and contributed to growth. And through this process of sharing, I will refer to some of the principles that I have found are crucial in our work if it is to offer hope to our clients today. And of course, one of the most important was what the group came up with, is that we as psychotherapists meet and stay with our clients in their moment of despair. I was born in Greece. As Nevin had told you before, my family immigrated to Canada in the late 1950s for a better life for their only child. And growing up in such a different context, cultural context, created a lot of inner confusion in me, particularly during adolescence and early adulthood. Of course, we all know that this is a period when personal identity is explored and developed. So inside my home, there was a traditional Greek family, Cretan, which were even more traditional, Cretan family relations with values of what we call in Greece philotimo, which is the love of honor, where you offer yourself, you sacrifice yourself to take care of others, where you are raised to openly express vulnerable emotions so that you can co-create interdependent relationships. And then as soon as I would open the door of my home, modern Western culture would come in with its focus on the strong, all-inclusive individual and the utmost value of independence. Within this context, I found myself very lost and experiencing a pervasive sense of shame that made me feel unworthy many times of human connection. I'm here reminded of the work of Brené Brown. I invite you to look into her work. It's quite amazing. She's a research professor in the United States who has done some brilliant work on shame and vulnerability. She found that in the perfectionistic culture, as she calls it, of the Western world, particularly in America, most people believe that they are not good enough. They're not thin enough, they're not rich enough, they're not smart enough, and they're not worthy of love. So she says, we can't afford to let our guard down. We can't afford to become vulnerable. Because letting others see us as we really are would mean that we would probably get rejected. Better to avoid emotional risk, avoid vulnerability, and so numb ourselves to the pain that we feel that we can't escape from. But growing up, I didn't know about Brené Brown, and I didn't have that knowledge, so I fell into this trap of shame, this confusing trap of shame. And then my experience of hope came out when I returned to my native homeland of Greece for university in the late 70s. I met and went into therapy with George and Vaso Vasiliou, a husband and wife psychotherapist team. They were group and family therapists who founded, as Nevin said before, the Athenian Institute of Anthropos in 1963. Their therapeutic approach was based on well-grounded research in collaboration with Harry Triandis of the United States on the similarities and differences of the traditional family, of the traditional Greek family, and their similarities and differences with the Americans, with respect to their perceptions of self, family roles, and relations, what they called the analysis of subjective culture. And through my systemic group therapy with them, I gained a sense of inner worthiness, which was fostered by my therapist's fundamental belief in me as a human being, in the human condition, in the human cracks that can bring in light, and their acceptance of my difficulties, which were created by bicultural confusion, and their encouragement to develop my intrapersonal emotional awareness and my interpersonal emotional expression, something that, as Brené says, is very difficult today. So hope emerged through the process of developing what they called autonomy through and for interdependence. Hope through taking hold of, there's a little bit of noise coming on around here, so I'm a little, is it okay to go on? Yeah? Okay, thank you. So hope was coming in through taking hold of my courage to accept and go through my pain and vulnerability and to share it with my significant others. So Emmy yesterday so eloquently said, we need to be human, feel your feelings, express your feelings, and this is an antidote to existential crisis, which is so common in today's world. So then one of the first main principles that I believe is very relevant to our globalized planet today is that hope arises from psychotherapy if it is based on our clear awareness as therapists of our clients' culture and our respect for diversity. And secondly, the importance of fostering emotional awareness and expression in the here and now process of therapy, how we guide our clients to stay and to work on their emotions in the here and now of therapy is so important. And I think that's relevant to what you brought in as the groups before as well. Another resource of hope from psychotherapy that I have experienced, and I'd like to share with you, came in my life later. I had been a systemic group and family therapist and trainer for several years, and I taught my trainees the importance of working within the different stages of the family life cycle. I don't know if you know the work of Monica McGoldrick and Betty Carter, who frame individual and family problems within the course of the family as a system as it moves through time. And I knew that the most difficult changes that families need to accordingly adapt to, especially in more traditional child-oriented cultures like ours in Greece and in the Balkan area, so that they avoid dysfunction, occur during the stage of launching children, the stage when children leave home and to create their own lives. So I knew all this. I was teaching all this. I was a good teacher. I was happy in what I was doing. But then when it happened to me, it happened, what I say in Greek, "Mena psychiko tralala," which means a psychic craziness happened. My daughters are leaving. What's the meaning here? What's happening? And what I found myself is that I was really blaming my husband. And I found that he didn't understand me. He didn't see my needs. He wasn't present enough. And although I always said that I would remarry my man, at that time I thought it was just unbelievable. He was unreal. So I again felt lost and confused. And what I had practiced wasn't enough for me, wasn't enough for my clients. And it is here that I started to really search for what I could learn more. And I rediscovered attachment theory. And I got really a lot involved. I don't know if you want to change a slide. I think maybe we don't have time for the slides so much, but maybe we can send them. Good, thank you, you agree. Thank you, Ronald. So I rediscovered attachment theory, and they got connected with the model of emotionally focused therapy of Sue Johnson. And as we know, emotionally focused therapy utilizes attachment theory, and it goes on to, it's a systemic psychotherapy model that incorporates Rogerian techniques and attachment framework. And this really made a lot of sense to me. So it comprises a clear conceptualization of what distress is all about, and it provides a map. So again, an experience of hope came out through coevolution. That is, I learned something, I grew something in myself, and I was able then to give hope, as I'm still trying to do today with my clients. The relationship with my husband fed my clients' hope, and my clients' hope feeded my hope with my clients. Another related hope that grew out of this experience came from my work in conducting and teaching couple therapy with this new model in more traditional cultures and those that have experienced deep crisis which have led to trauma. My work in countries such as Iran and the former Yugoslavian countries have reinforced the significance of the attachment paradigm. Attachment needs are universal. Neuroscience has shown us today that we are wired to connect. It's proven that early attachment experiences greatly influence later life. But although these needs are universal, their expression, the way that we ask, the way that we obtain support, is culturally defined. So this is really, again, very important. Our understanding and respect for diversity in culture. So promoting engagement in therapy with disowned attachment emotions, needs and fears, and integrating these into new relationships, new interactions, brings hope for human connection in a world that is now fragmented of connections. I'd like to show you now a 6-minute excerpt from a couple therapy session I did a couple of years ago. Important it is for us to be aware of the cultural context within which our clients live and experience their lives, and our appreciation for diversity. Values, taking care of the other, and emotional expression. Whereas people are telling her not to express, she says. She wants to pop. She's exhausted. She says that she feels something is wrong with her, and so she's starting to shut down. So, as a Bosnian psychotherapist shared with me at that time, trauma came in from the war in Bosnia, the first trauma. The second trauma, as she said, came from the psychologists that came in to help them deal with the trauma, because they didn't understand, they didn't appreciate our culture. We grieve and mourn collectively, she said. So we need to finally attune emotionally with our clients and be open and curious. As yesterday, Evgenio talked to Irving Yalom. What did Yalom say? My first psychotherapy was worth nothing because she did not touch on the culture of being Jewish. So lastly, my most recent experience of hope from psychotherapy that it's come out of this period of mourning for my husband. My husband, my partner, my soulmate of 45 years, passed away last November. Again, I felt lost. This interview with Yalam was moving and very hopeful. And hope for me has emerged from my personal therapy. I was really happy to hear Yalam say, go into therapy, guys, whenever you need it in all your life stages. I think this is really hopeful for us as psychotherapists. And I'm in therapy with this marvelous Dutch therapist. It's very difficult for me to be with a therapist in Greece now. And I hope through technology, this is another hope, working online, and I feel she's accompanying me with compassion. She's in my grief, with my pain, and I feel safe and seen. And the last thing is that my hope is also emerging from the network with my colleagues, not only in Greece, but also in Europe. And I feel that networking is what EAP is all about. And this is a wider network. So we need personal and wider networks to keep up our hope, connection with colleagues that foster resilience and sustainability, co-evolution of systems. I connect, therefore I am, as my mentor Vaso Vasiliou said. And I want to share and stress the importance of hope in our lives at all stages in our personal and therapeutic life. We need to care for us. We need to care for us. And in closing, I'd like to dedicate this keynote to the memory of my husband, Petros Polychronis, child psychiatrist, systemic group and family therapist, the director of the Athenian Institute of Anthropos. I keep my hope of psychotherapy in our endangered world, largely because of him and our relationship. Thank you very much.